Good morning. This is Speak English Correctly with Swag, brought to you by Good Deeds Africa. Why speak English? English is the single most widely spoken language in the world today. Not French, not Chinese, not Hindi, and certainly not broken or pidgin English. It's the English language. Therefore, English is the most important language one can learn, and it is crucial to learn how to speak it correctly. While Nigeria, and indeed Africa, is blessed with so many people, cultures, and languages, the English language is the official language, the lingua franca of Nigeria and many other countries in and outside Africa. So even though English may not be your mother tongue, knowing how to speak English correctly will at least make you bilingual and more employable in Nigeria and in every other country in the world. It is important to note that speaking Fone does not necessarily mean you speak English correctly. You may not. New worlds, new cultures. As noted above, English is commonly spoken throughout much of the world due to Great Britain's expansion during the colonial age. People in Africa, Australia, Europe, Canada, India, New Zealand, and many other countries and smaller island nations speak English today. English is also the commonly adopted second language in a lot of countries like France, Germany, Netherlands, Norway, Denmark, Sweden. Therefore, speaking English correctly opens these countries and cultures up to you. Better English, more money. Despite China, the United States is still a leader in technological innovation and economic development, and English is mainly used in the United States and in each of these fields. English is also the language of the film industry, which is one of the largest industries in the world when you consider Hollywood, Nollywood, and Bollywood. In Nigeria, as well as most other countries, speaking English correctly immediately opens up opportunities for you regardless of your ethnicity, religion, or background. Learning English will increase your job prospects and increase your standard of living. English speakers generally earn more money than non-English speakers. If you learn how to speak English correctly, you can then teach your children and communicate with them in English. Better English, more swag. Learning to speak English confidently is nowadays an absolute necessity. It is critical for a good quality job and to flourish in one's career. Management jobs require fluency in English. Lots of accomplishments in life are greatly dependent upon the way you conduct yourself. That is, your swag, especially with senior managers, co-workers, and customers, particularly in international companies. It is not enough to just leave an impression of stylishness. It is necessary to be able to speak and articulate yourself in a smart way. And if you don't speak English correctly, it will be very hard to come away looking smart, no matter how well dressed or how good looking you are. Learning and knowing how to speak English correctly will give you real swag. Better English, study abroad. The ability to read and write English correctly is also important for studies abroad. Make no mistake, speaking English correctly is just as essential as the capability to read and write English correctly, maybe even more so. Please know that an educated person is not necessarily a correct English speaker. Hence, it is possible for a less educated person to get the job over you due to his or her command of the English language. Avoid misunderstandings. There are other reasons why you should learn how to speak English correctly. Using the correct grammar is important to avoid misunderstandings and to help the other person understand you better. If your English is full of mistakes, you will slow down communication and conversations and find it harder to express your ideas and thoughts clearly and concisely. Most people know this, but it is the fear of making mistakes that often makes them shy about speaking. Some of the challenges you face include Nobody telling you if you're making a mistake. If you're speaking with a native English speaker, it's less likely that he or she will correct your grammar, and far more likely that he or she will correct your vocabulary and choice of words. Not being sure about a particular point of grammar. It's easy to have doubts when you're speaking. Which preposition should you use? Which tense is better? Not being sure about the right grammar can often slow you down or make you hesitant when you speak. Not knowing enough grammar. A good understanding of grammar will allow you to be flexible when you speak English and to choose the best way of saying something. So, for example, you might be talking about a situation where the passive would be the best choice, but because you can't remember the past participle of the verb or the correct structure, you end up using the active form. The more grammar you know, the more choices you have to express yourself concisely. English Assessment Test. Take our English Assessment Test today to see how well you know and speak English. It is completely free. Just answer a number of multiple choice questions, and at the end we assess and tell you how good your English is with recommendations for improvement. The assessment is based on the International Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, CEF or CEFR, a standardized way of assessing people's proficiency with the English language all over the world. There are 6 CEFR levels: A1, A2, B1, B2, C1 and C2, with A1 being the lowest level of English proficiency and C2 the highest level. You can view a full description of the 6 CEFR levels on the next slide. To take the English assessment test, go to www.gooddeedsafrica.org. That's www.gooddeedsafrica.org. My name is Oye Atilade, founder of Good Deeds Africa. My CEFR level is C2, which is the advanced or mastery level. You've just been listening to Speak English Correctly with Swag, a presentation brought to you by Good Deeds Africa.